Okay, we're recording.
Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of Tiny Painting Corner here at the Orland Park Public Library. We are going to be doing two paintings today. As you see, I have them here on this easel. We have a little watermelon and a mango for some fun summer fruits. And before we get started, like I did last time, we should do some preparation. I have this very messy plastic artist palette. And if you have one of those, that's great. And if you don't, I recommend you get a lid and you put aluminum foil over it. My God. You have to put aluminum foil over it so that your paints stay fresh and they don't dry out. If you want to do some mixing, because we might have to do just a light bit of mixing for the background colors. And also for your paint, so you're able to dissolve it and use different colors, you're gonna wanna get a cup. I here have a One Direction cup. And you wanna fill the water up first and then add soap. So then when you're filling it up, it's not just a big bubbly soapy mess. You wanna add just a drop of soap after you fill up your cup with some water, stir it in, and then you'll have yourself some nice soapy water. So you're able to dissolve your paint as you're going in between colors. Once you guys all return, just sound off in the chat so Mary Lynn could see and let me know that I can continue on to the demonstration. Oh, and also you'll need a pencil. I almost forgot about that. A handy dandy pencil.
Some water in there with a little Dawn, just a bit. Okay, just a bit. Yeah. Thanks.
I think whenever you're ready, Arianna.
We're good?
And I'll just keep monitoring the chat. There's nothing right now, but go ahead whenever you're ready.
Right. So let me pump out my pencil real quick. We're going to start off with the watermelon painting here, right there. I'm going to move this out the way so I don't accidentally knock it over during demonstration. And right kind of off center, like right about here, you're going to want to draw just a nice circle. Do it very lightly because it's hard to make a perfect circle right off the top. Life is hard. I already messed mine up. If you have a protractor, even better. If you have a protractor, I say use the protractor. You're going to want to draw just a nice circle and then just even out the edges. If you notice that it's not exactly perfect, then erase any mistakes. It's better to go lighter, and if you don't use a mechanical pencil, it's much easier to be lighter. And then off to the side, right here, you're going to want to do just a nice little semicircle for a cut watermelon. Oh, forgot to do it just a wee bit lower. You want to make it a little bit lower than the first one, just for artistic preference. And then just a nice little semicircle right here, as if you just have a nice little cut watermelon. And then it should look like this. And then you should have 3 paint brushes. Let me dab them off because they're very wet. You have 3 of them. This one is not the same as what you guys have. This is my personal brush. As you see, it has no more paint on it. It's just wood. But there is a skinnier brush. And then you have this brush that's about a medium sized brush that if you were to point it together, come to a nice little point, or you could flatten it out as so. And then you have a bigger brush like this. And what you're going to want to do after I dry my hands off for making them wet You're gonna wanna take the bigger brush like this, lightly dip it in the water so it gets just a little bit wet. Dab it off on a little paper towel so it's not too moist. And then you're gonna wanna go in with your bright green color. You don't wanna do too much, just a little. I have this much paint on my brush, just this very little amount. And you're gonna go in on the big circle and just fill it in with the green paint. And it's okay if you go outside the circle a little bit, because you can always fix that once we go back over. If the watermelon ends up being just a little bit bigger than what you originally drawn, that is a-okay, because it is art, it is subjective. And you're just gonna wanna fill that out. And to go around on the circle, if you're finding it a little bit difficult, you could take it on the edge, like go on an angle, like I'm doing right here, and fill in the edges first with little light strokes. So you're able to make that circle, and then you could go all the way around. So you're able to get a more round shape. And we're also going to be going over it as an outline too, where there's going to be an outline color later, so don't worry too much on any imperfections. Okay. And then you want to smooth out the color a bit, because there's going to be some brush strokes. You want to smooth it out, go around and do this nice swooping motion around in a circle to smooth that out. And you want to keep your brush strokes very light on this as you're smoothing it, so not too many strokes show up. Point of right now is to just blend in the color. And it'll be a little patchy right now, but that's what we're gonna layer, so it should look like this. I'm gonna clean off the other brush, and then we're going to get the medium-sized brush I have right here, this one. Should have two blues, and I believe one is a deeper blue, possibly a black. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. And you're gonna want to smooth this out just a little bit, just in case it foiled out in the water. Just clean off my hands a little. And you're gonna wanna go in with the deeper green, like the nice dark forest green. Just dab into that, get a good amount, maybe circle it up. I have this amount on my paintbrush right here. And it's okay if your paint tip curls a bit. That is natural, it happens. It actually makes it easier for the detail painting. So what you wanna do, as you know with watermelons, they have those nice stripes, but they're not perfect. So you're going to take it, like go in this section right here, and you're gonna wanna do just a light little zigzag line and go all the way down. From top to bottom, all the way down. And you're gonna dip in the paint just a little bit again. And you're gonna do the same over here. And once you do the first line, after that, you're gonna wanna circle it out a bit, just like as if it is like a 3D round object. You're gonna go around. So you don't wanna make it perfectly straight. You wanna act like you're going around and down. They don't all have to be uniform. As you see, like with this one, it's not as dark. And that'll make it look more realistic when you have that. And dip again in that green. And then on this side, you're gonna wanna bring the roundness over here. So you wanna make it go like that instead of going in this way, because when you think of a watermelon, it's gonna go that way with the stripes, and then the center is going to be straight down. So we're going to not do the center first, but go off into the Second stripe, zigzag it down, like so. Go back up. And then you can go up at the top and do like any light shading if you want to blend it in. Dip it in again. And on this one, you want to be really careful because it is on the edge. And you don't want to make it too thick. You want to make this one lighter. And go around till you reach the edge. And then bring it up. Like so. And now we're going to get that center stripe going. So dip into that green again. And then do the same zigzag motion, but with the center stripe. You want to make this one about as thick as the first two, so it matches up and it should fit perfectly in the center. Just dip it in just a little bit more if it isn't as opaque at the bottom. And then with the stripes, let me put that down here. You should have something, trying to get that camera angle. There we go. Like this. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go back to that lighter green color. You can keep the paintbrush as is. You don't have to clean it off because you're going to want a little bit of the paint on there for blending purposes. So you're going to dip into that lighter green again, just a little bit, not too much, just about this much. And you're going to want to go around in between the stripes so you can make it just a little bit thicker with the color. And don't be afraid to touch the stripes a bit. It'll help blend in the color and make it look more natural, and it'll give it more depth and shadows. And you're gonna want to just like kind of tap it in a little bit and then like go back and forth in little small strokes as if you're like writing with a pencil. You're doing just very light shading type strokes. And dip back into that green again. And then you're going to go in between each one. It doesn't matter which one you start on. There's no particular one. You just want to fill it out. And if you accidentally go outside the line a bit, it's okay. Just blend it out like I'm doing here. So I went a little bit outside the line. Sorry. Piece of the paintbrush decided to want to come off of it. Then you're going to dip back in. And if you're running out of the dark green, just do a light dip, very light into the dark green. I'm talking just dot it. You probably can't even see it in the camera, but there's just the tiniest bit of that dark green in there. Because you don't want too much, because much like with black, if you put a little bit on there, it's going to go everywhere. So you're going to want just the tiniest bit just so you could blend it out. But you definitely want more of the light green. And you're going to go in between so you get that nice texture that we're looking for. So it's not just one dimensional. You want to get those two tones just lightly in there. And dip back into that light green. And get these edges, which is like almost the hardest part because it's so skinny. But for this one, you're not going to go up and down. You're just going like the side to side motion we're doing. You're going to go like long strips, like you're doing an L, lowercase L, or an uppercase I without the two halves. And it's going to go like that around. So think of making L's or straight lines. Up and down, very light strokes. You never want to press too hard when it comes to these paintings. And then you'll get the depth you need on there. And you're going to repeat the same thing on the other half. And do just super light up and down strokes. Just to fill that in. There we go. And then you're going to want to clean that brush off. And you should have something right now that looks like this. It looks a little muddy, I know, with the stripes if you were blending in, but that is okay because we're going to go in with the darker color again and with the yellow in just 1 second. And that's when you're going to want to bring out the baby brush, the little tiny skinny brush. I know we did not have it for the last one, but it wasn't that important. But this one, I definitely needed because there was no way you were going to be able to do the seeds without it. So what you're going to do is dip into the dark green once again. Can't even really see it on this one, but get that dark green on there like that. Tap off any excess that you may have if you have too much. And then you're going to go in on the stripes once again. And instead of making the up and down zigzag motions, what you're going to do is dot it. Because you don't want to fill it in, because that is going to take away all of the blending you just did. So what you're going to want to do is just dot along the lines. I'm going like little left to right dots. Like so. And that's just going to give it some more dimension. And another must when you are taking the brushes out of the water is make sure you definitely dab them on the paper towels because they will be way too wet. And if you using these small brushes where you're just dipping in, the moment you press into the canvas and if the brush is too wet, you're just going to have a big wet stain. And it's going to make it a little bit hard to get off, but it's possible. You can usually dab it off because it's not water paint and it isn't going to spread weirdly. You can usually pretty much dab it off afterwards, but it does make it a little bit more difficult. So we're going to do the same motion on all the stripes, just dots back and forth to fill that in. Little tiny dots. You might have to dip in multiple times because you don't want to make it too thick, but that is okay because there should be enough paint. A little paint goes a long way with these tiny paintings, which is what I like. You never need a lot of paint to complete a full painting. Save some money when buying paint and the cleanup. Because normally I just have just a little tiny dot, ignore all these dots, but I have usually just a little tiny dot in the center and I could just take it up once it dries if it's thick enough. These aren't thick enough for me to rip off yet. I'm gonna have to like viciously clean that. And you're gonna dip and dot, 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 dot. There's little tiny dots along the darker stripes. It should give it some more depth. And then it'll look like it did before, but then you see how there's darker shadows in between, making it blend just a little bit more. It's very nice. And you're gonna go back in with that dark color because we're about to make shadows for the watermelon. So going back in dark color, make sure the brush is pretty dry. What I like to do is I take it on my hand or my wrist and go like this to make sure it's pretty dry. Because we're going to do quick dry strokes. We don't want it too wet to make the shadows. Have the tiniest dot of paint on there. Because you really don't want too much on this because then you're going to have to redo the whole blending process again. And you're going to start from this corner right here, like I did, like I'm doing. And you're going to go around the watermelon as if you're outlining it. Just back and forth. And you might run out of paint. See that like you don't have as much dark paint on there. And that is just a-okay because that's actually kind of better. But if you're completely run out and you're just stroking on light green, don't be afraid to dip in again. But you're going to take it and you're going to go around in a circle with the teeniest, tiniest, lightest strokes possible to man. You should even be able to feel the pressure. Someone should be able to pull the paintbrush out of your hand, like very easily. You're gonna go around the whole watermelon so you're able to get a nice outline. Just go around. And then once you get to an area that you don't have much left, that's when you're gonna start the fun blending. So what you're gonna do, take a little bit of that, and I'm starting at this corner right here. And then once you add the paint right here, you're going to take it and lightly blend it out, like shake it viciously and blend it out around the circle. It's gonna make the edges a little bit darker and give the illusion as if it's three-dimensional instead of just a 2D painting. So make it look more spherical rather than circle. You're gonna wanna do that again, but you don't wanna do it in the same corner. You're gonna wanna start in another section. So I'm going in this corner, making the line, and then viciously blend out, because that paint is usually going to go along the rest of the perimeter. It's not just going to stay in that one corner once you start viciously blending that out. You should start be able to see some shadows along the edges. They're very light, very delicate shadows. They're not very harsh. They're very light. And you're gonna do the same at the bottom. Get some paint at the bottom, a good amount, and then do the good old shake and blend. And if you go out the lines a little bit, it's all right, because we're gonna slather purple on it at the end. So it's not even gonna show up. Ye old shake and blend. And it should look like this. We're going to be staying with the tiny brush for the next two parts. So you don't even have to worry about the other two right now. I'm gonna dab that off, make sure it's just a little bit wet. And you're gonna go into your yellow. You're gonna dot into it, very small amount. Like, oh, where am I? Like this. And not sure, like on some watermelons, you notice how they have like small bits of yellow on it, and we're gonna add those small bits of yellow. 1 second, I'm going to see if I can make the screen slightly larger so we're able to get into the detail a bit more. Here we go. So it doesn't really matter where you do this. It doesn't have to be uniform across the whole watermelon. It could be on any section of the watermelon you want. But the basic technique you want to do, I'm going to start on this one because it is the darkest one, easier to see on camera. You're going to take a little zigzag line and go down the watermelon and stop. Bring it up and stop. Go in a different section because it's never just a straight yellow line. It's always just little sections of yellow. So I'm gonna have a little section of yellow right there and then stop. And then I'm gonna go for the middle. And since I have it at the top and bottom on the middle, I'm gonna go for straight down the middle on the middle line. And if you go in and out on the paint, like if it's not just a straight line of yellow, that makes it better. And that's actually how it's supposed to look. You don't want to have straight yellow like you did with the green lines, because that's not the look we're going for. We're going for just a little subtle yellow that'll come in. That's why it's best to have your brush a little dry, because when it's dry, it'll naturally run out of paint quicker than when it's wet. It won't retain it as much. So you want the brush to be a little bit drier on here. And you're gonna go just light little zigzags and then stop and then put another section and then stop. Dip back in that yellow. Go in little zigzags, the teeniest, tiniest little lines, and stop. Little ziggies, and stop. And you just have some nice bright yellow lines in here. Oh, they look like this. Oh, and one last thing we are going to do on the big watermelon. I know we spent quite some time on the big old watermelon. We are going to add just the tiniest bit of white. Tiniest bit. This part is very important to do exactly. Make sure that brush, you can't quite see, but I'm viciously scrubbing it off. Like Bob Ross, he would like hit the side of his easel, just go. I am going to viciously wipe it on this paper towel to make sure it's as dry as it can be. Put it on my hand, make sure it just feels soft and dry. And when I say the tiniest dot, I do mean the smallest dot you have ever witnessed. So much so that you can't really even see it of the white. My white would, there we go. And then you're going, there we go. See? Just a small bit of white on the brush. And what you're gonna do, you have to be very careful with this. On the center, the two center pieces, like these two oblong shapes, you're going to add just a touch of white. And you're gonna do the same zigzaggy motion that we've been doing for the stripes, but you wanna cloud it. So you wanna make it puffier and much lighter. So just barely touching the canvas, you're gonna wanna do those little zigzags and just pat them on and rub them in. Zigzag, pat, and rub. And you wanna rub upward. It's not going to do a whole lot. You're not going to see too much, but it's going to make the slightest difference that makes it look a little bit more realistic. So we're gonna do that again for this section. I wanna go straight in the center for this one. You wanna zigzagger, pat it. The padding gets rid of it a bit. And you brush that thing in. And if you put too much white, like I just accidentally did, that is okay. And that's the point of the dry brush. You just keep dragging it out, blending it in, pushing it forward. And on here, you could use just a little bit of a heavier stroke. And if it's still not going away, dip slightly into the green. Oh, where's the camp? There we go. Slightly in the green. Dot it on to different sections of the white. Clean it off once again. And once your brush has nothing on it really except for a green stain, you want to blend that in because it's going to blend in with the white. And it's going to cause that illusion that we wanted earlier without having too much of that green and white color. It's going to make it very light. It also gives it just a bit of a highlight, as if like some light is touching it. Get back in that green a little bit more. Because the white doesn't want to go away too much. There we go. I'm gonna dot, push, dot, push. It's a method that'll take you right to the bank. And then that is our big watermelon right here. A lovely big old watermelon on a tiny canvas. In our next bit, we are going to get into the open watermelon, which is always fun. We love a good open watermelon. For that one, we're not going to use the bigger brush for that one at all because it is too small. So what we're going to use is the medium-sized brush. Take it out, dab it out, make sure it's still damp. And you're going to dip into your brighter color red. You want a good amount on there because you're going to coat it. the first coat, you always want a pretty good amount, pretty thick amount. And then you're just going to fill it in. There's no special way you have to paint this part when you're filling it in, because this one is a pointed brush, so you don't have to worry as much as like with the flat brush. So you'll be able to manipulate around the edges. You just want to fill this all in red. Here we go. Oh. Have a nice red watermelon at the bottom. Looks like a little happy face. You're gonna want to clean that off a little bit. You're not going to be using the darker red for the watermelon painting. That's going to be for the mango. I know we have all the reds together and all the greens together, but that was just for like, kind of like a continuation of color. They're not necessarily used on the same painting. And the next step you're going to want to do is take that bright green, switch brushes, almost forgot, switch brushes to the little brush. That would be awful to do with the bigger brush. And you're going to want to go into that nice bright green that we had, get a good amount, because since we just put that red on, it's probably going to take up a lot of red. And so you want a good amount of that green, like a good thick glob, as you see right there on the paintbrush. And the good thing about these particular paints is that they're very liquefied. So when you have a big glob, it runs. So you're going to take that and go all along the edge, very lightly along the edge, lining it like you would see the rind of a watermelon. Pretty sure that is what it's called. I'm sorry if it is not. I actually don't eat watermelon, but I like the look of them. You're going to go around the edge. That nice watermelon rind. Nice and bright. Looking very cute and happy. There's a cute little watermelon at the bottom. I'm gonna add a little bit of texture on that later. Clean that brush off. Tap it on the side. Drag it on the towel. Making sure. Oh, another thing to watch out for. I'm not sure if everyone else has as much problem as I do. It's probably from the amount of water I have. But if you find that you have like a lot of water buildup in this area, you can lightly tap that area on your paper towel, or I find it's easier, personally for me and my hands, it's like putting it on my hand to see if it's there, because there's usually a lot of moisture locked in there for me because I have a significant amount of water in here. But if you have less, it may not be an issue for you. So the next part we're going to do is add those seeds. So you're going to dip in that black. You don't need much, but you're going to dip into the black. Here we are. I only have this little dollop on there. And you're just going to randomly add seeds. You're just going to do like little tiny lines. You can even just dot it. There's no particular place where you could have them. It's just as long as you have some seeds on there. Mine's ended up looking like this. And there we go. Like that. Have those little tiny seeds there looking adorable. You want to clean that off a little. And we are done with the black for the rest of the paintings. So that was the only use of the black, was for watermelon seeds. That's why there's just the tiniest dot of black in there. And we're going to go back in with that white. Our lovely, lovely white that could be oh so very tricky. Whites and blacks can either make or break your painting. They could help you or ruin your life. It really depends on how much you put on. So what we're going to do is that I notice with some watermelons, when you have them cut open, is at the top that they have like a bit of a light pink, sometimes a white edge. And so we're going to mimic that. And by doing that, you're going to have a very light stroke like we did the last time, but you want the white to come up a little bit. So just light up and down strokes, not up and down, left and right strokes along the top. And you want that to be like just at the tip. You don't want it to go anywhere else, just a little bit at the tip. You're going to want to go back and forth with that. And then I like to do the dot and drag, where you take it and you dot it and you drag it down a little. It's mainly a whole lot of dotting, so you can get a nice even blend out on that. You got a little bit more pressure when you're doing the dot and drag. And then you're going to go back in with the red, the bright red. You can keep the white on there. That's perfectly fine. Just like I said with the last time, when it comes to the blending, you're going to want the color to be on there a little bit. And you're going to go back over that area and just right below it, blend out with the red. So it's just barely any white, but you make a light pink color at the top. And then you want to do that good old dot and drag. My favorite move. Just dot it and drag it a little bit. And then add a little bit white. Tiniest bit. And you're going to just do slight little white dots along the watermelon. So I have like a little dot right about here. A little white dot here. I'm going to put a little dot at the bottom. And then I'm going to put a little dot in this corner. I wish I was able to paint this upside down for you guys to help you, so you're able to see it more. This is a really tiny painting. So that's where I have these dots, and you're not going to leave it like that. That's just your base part of the dot. So what you're going to do is go back in with the red, get a small amount. I have this amount of red compared to the white, and you're going to want to go over it lightly. And as you start blending, it should make just the lightest pink color. And if you need a little bit more white, you could dot that on. Because it's just there for some little extra added texture. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to paint upside down so you guys can see the detail a little bit more. You just drag it along. And if you get on the seeds, you can always repaint the seeds. They're the easiest thing to fix because it is black. And if you ever mess up anything black, all you have to do is paint over it again. It is the loudest color. Most worry-free when you need to fix something. I'm taking the red again and going over it, cleaning it off, and doing the dot to get rid of some of the white. And if you don't like to blend the colors directly on there, another option that you can do is that you could take some of the red off, put it on your lid, take some of the white off. Sorry, my white has dried up on me a little bit, but it's okay. And then you take some of the white, put it in with the red, and you mix it in. And then you'll get this pink color that you would have gotten on the canvas anyway. But if you didn't want to blend it on the canvas just in case, you could always blend it off on the lid and just add it to the painting for the extra texture that you wanted. It just adds a little bit of something. Because although it is very scenic, not all watermelons are just straight up bright red. And then you're gonna dip back in. Clean that brush off completely because we're going in with a different color. We're no longer working on the inside of the watermelon. We're gonna go for the outside on the rind. And you're gonna go into that deep green again. And on this one, you have to be very, very careful. You wanna make the skinniest little lines along the rind of it to give it some extra texture like you have here. So it's not just one color green. So you're going to do just skinny little lines along it to give it that extra bit of texture. Got a bit of water on there. And a good thing about these paints, normally what I would do is that I would, I have like this finishing spray, like a varnish. I spray over all my paintings once I'm done, which is why like these are glossy, but you can't really tell in these lights, but they're glossy. But the good thing about this paint is this one, actually, I did not varnish it. You can see the gloss though on the side when it hits the light. It's just that the paints that we're using are just a naturally glossy texture. So once it's done drying, it just dries glossy, which helps me with varnishing because I don't even have to do it. And now that we're done with this bit right here, what we're gonna do next is we are going to paint the background color. So we're going back in with the big old flat brush. Dab that off. And we're gonna hold the canvas in a special way. I like to, which way? Yes, thumb and middle finger. Can't really get rid of my index, but you're gonna take your thumb and middle finger and you're gonna place the thumb is going to go in this corner. And then your middle finger is gonna go in that corner. And the way I do it is that I have them first facing a very, I wish I could get rid of my index finger, and facing a straight way. And then I take it and I twist it around so I'm able to get a good grip. Because when you're painting the sides, what you don't want to do is just have it facing straight on the ground, or like maybe have it on the easel because you want to paint the bottom too. And so you're going to want to hold it like this so you're able to get a full 360 look of the canvas. And you're able to paint all the way around without having any interference. So we're gonna go into that lovely lilac or lavender, whichever one you like to call it. Get a good amount, nice thick glob. And we're gonna start painting the background. As far as the easiest and most peaceful. Any brush strokes would do. You don't have to follow any kind. Just mind the edges. You want to go a little bit carefully like we did when we were filling in the big watermelon. The rest of them you go kind of quick, but once you get to the edges, you want to be careful about that. Dipping back in. Going up and around the little watermelon. Sometimes you have to reposition, and that's A-okay. You just grab it and switch where your thumb and index finger are. And go up and around. Do the good old back and forth to get that good blending going. Viciously back and forth in very open areas. You don't want to do that when you're close to the watermelon because you can easily mess it up and hit the watermelon, then the watermelon's purple, and then you got to clean stuff up, and nobody wants to clean up paintings. So only do the vicious back and forth when you have good wide open space, like at the top and on the side. Once you're around that watermelon, you want to go as light as you possibly can. and be nice and delicate. Get back in. And even so, if you aren't feeling the most confident about going around the canvas with the bigger brush, what you can do is that you could take the medium-sized brush and paint around that area because it'll do the same effect, and then you could just blend it out later if you want to go that way, because that will be much easier. I know I do that when there's a closer space that I have to paint in and I just truly do not want to go back in and try and fix that. You can switch over the brushes and get that going. And the paint might be looking a little bit patchy as you're doing the first coating, but the goal for the first time around is to just fill everything in. So you're gonna go in again. Oh, also helps if you wet the brush just a little bit, tiniest bit, with the paint already on it. It'll make it a little bit more liquidy and it will spread much further. Like with that. That was just me going over it multiple times with the wet brush. I didn't even have to dip back in. It gets the first surface level paint going. It's not going to be the most opaque, but it does help with surface level, which is what we're trying to do right now. And on the sides, you can just do the vicious back and forth painting because there's nothing in your way. It's just the sides of the canvas. So you're gonna go in, go back to the front and go in with a second coat of paint. You want to be easy on that with the second coat because that's going to be your last coat. And you want to make sure that you don't have crazy amount of brush strokes. So you want to make sure you keep your brush strokes even and going in the same direction. I am going towards the right with my brush strokes on this one. Here we go. So we can have like the same color. Here we go. So look like, sorry, trying to find the right camera angle. Look like that. Go in and go to the sides once again. Get the brush a little wetter for the sides because the sides aren't as important as the front. Obviously, the front is the most important when it comes to being opaque. You just wanted a color to be on the side. I mean, you don't even have to have the same color on the side. I know sometimes with my other paintings, I would have the color be a completely different color than the rest of the painting. Like I would maybe do an accent when it comes to this purple with the colors we have. You could do an accent of the red to mimic the red in the watermelon, or you can even go with the yellow. And even if you already have the purple in there, it is oh so easy to paint over if you wanted to. I'm just gonna go with a nice light coating because that is my goal. And even if you want to blend out the top some more, I recommend you go over it lightly, not too much because it will take up the paint because it's not completely dry. With the paintbrush a little damp because that'll help the colors blend out a little more. So take it, go into the purple. You should have like little to no purple left. This was designed to have just amount. So you want to go into that very little amount of purple because that's all you need. And go into the water and blend it out. Because you don't want too much because then it'll be very thick and take ages to dry. And that's just for blending purposes. And if the sides aren't the desired color you wanted it to be, that is a-okay, because the sides are going to be gold anyway. So I'm going to put the canvas down. It's a little bit wet for me. It should be a little bit wet for you. And what we're going to do, you're going to go in with the medium brush right here. Picking that back up. It might be a little bit difficult to pick back up, but that's okay. You might get a little purple on your hands like I just did. But once again, okay. And if you do, just blend her out because it's wet. So the paint will still be there. So you just got to blend it back out. Back and forth. Blending it out. Sometimes there's even paint pockets, and that's fantastic because then you can spread it on even more. There we go. And you're going to go in to the yellow. Right here. Get a thick amount of the yellow because it is wet on the canvas. And you're going to want to do lines along the edges like you have like a little ray of sunshine coming out like you used to draw when you were a kid. And have the sun in the corner. We're going to have our own little sun in the corner. And you're going to want to do that for these two corners right here. You want to do them both. They're both, go lightly on the first pass. You don't want to go too thick because we do need a second coat. Dab off some excess moisture if you have any. You go in, just doing these fun little ray of sunshine strokes. It's not going to be as bright of a yellow as you may think it's going to be just from picking it up from the paintbrush because it will blend in with the purple, and that's exactly what we want. It's going to dull it and make it look more golden rather than bright neon banana yellow. We want that golden color. And so then what you're going to do on the inside pieces, you're going to blend that in like so. You're going to do the same for over here. You don't want to use too much because we do need that yellow for the mango. And also if you put too much, then it's going to be that bright yellow that we don't want. We want golden, so it'll blend in with the purple and make it. And once you get that, it should look, trying to like contort myself like this. There we go. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to have like the arms. As long as you have the arms coming out, that's the main goal of life. And then you're going to take little tiny baby brush, our favorite little guy, and go into that white. Once you get that white, you're going to take it and put little dots in the most opaque parts of the watermelon painting. Oh, that is a whole glob. Why? If you get a whole glob of paint, I like to use the back of my paintbrush and just get rid of that. Globs happen. And then you're going to do the same for over here. For some reason, my white isn't acting right with me, but your white should be fine. If for some reason your paint decides, hey, I don't want to be liquid anymore, all you have to do is dip your paintbrush in water and put it into the paint and liquefy her again. Because it happens. Sometimes they want to get dry and they're not allowed. So mine's is going to look a little pink because I did use it to blend a color and I had red paint on it. So mine's is going to look a little pink, but yours will be white. And then you're just gonna add these nice fun dots. And to make them thicker, because we're not even using the white in the mango painting. So you can use all the white you want for your dots if you want to make them nice and thick. Just have these nice dots. You can make them small, you can make them big. I'm going to make them bigger than what you see in the original painting, just so you're able to see them on camera. I do things just slightly bigger than I do in the original, so there's going to be discrepancy. So you can actually see it. And then it should look like this. Sorry that this corner looks weird. A weird glob of paint came off without my consent. And I had to make the dots big enough for you so you were able to see it. And yeah, that is your watermelon painting. Nice and finished. I got two watermelons next to each other. My hand has purple on it. You see what I mean about like the dots are really tiny? I can hardly see them on camera. It's being very weird. Also, one is upside down, but it's being very weird on camera. So I had to make it a little bit bigger and make the details more obvious for you to be able to see. Yes, these are the little watermelon paintings. Very cute.
It's so cute, Arianna. It's like a little smile down there.
I'll give you, oh, I see that. Very nice. I love it.
Thank you. Mine looks really cute.
I'll give you guys some time to finish up on the watermelon before we get started on the mango. I hope the jazz is nice and relaxing to you guys.
It is. Also, just a reminder, we have the chat box. If anyone has a question or anything like that, feel free to type it in. And I'll make sure that I read them to Arianna so that she can work and answer questions.
Yeah. Got to be able to multitask, you know?
Right.
I think I have to get a new glob of white because I completely ruined my white.
All right, you can have your applesauce if you want. Applesauce and this. Go away from me. I'm painting here, I told you. Have a snack because you keep telling me you're hungry, but then you're not eating your snack. I'm not giving you food till 6 o'clock. You can have a snack now. Do what you want. Why are you not finishing your almond butter?
I'm going to mute you.
Oh, there's the mango. I was like, I lost my whole mango painting. She is here. Heads up for the mango painting. That is going to be a lot of blending. The watermelon painting was very straightforward with the colors because you just basically have various shades of green. There's not a lot of colors with the mango, but you definitely have to blend a lot. So this one's a blending painting. The watermelon was more attention to detail, and the mango is going to be blending. I do believe I have all my colors out here. I kind of ran out of space in my color wheel, so I'm trying to make sure I have all of them out here. I am missing a red. Oh, that was here. That is dried up. That is not the red. Okay, there we go. There we are. Is everyone good to get started on the mango?
Looks like everyone's ready. No one has said no, Ariana.
All right. We're going to get started on this way. The mango. I have it off screen as a reference. So the mango, back with the pencil. It's an odd shape. It's kind of shaped like a kidney bean, but not as curved. So with that, I start off with an oval and go from there. You want to go with a nice oval or an ellipses, if you may. Starting a bit in the corner and coming back up. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's a mango and it's oblong and weird. As you see here, mine looks like a potato. And so what I'm going to do is once you get the base shape, you can start perfecting it. You go around at the top. Keep the bottom part pretty round too. And then you start to curve in. And then I'm going to erase that so you can see the difference. And once you get that part going, you want to start making that kidney bean shape. So you want to curve in just a little bit and come back out. And then connect it to the back. You want to erase your original oval or ellipses. You should have some weird kidney shape. Are you painting kidney bean? Your actual kidneys? Or mango? The world may never know. Perfect that a little bit. Erase any imperfections. And then you're gonna want to get the leaf. Found that around way too hard. For the leaf, I have just like a little stem coming out right here. It's just like almost a triangle, but you didn't finish the top. And then right there, you're gonna draw the leaf. It's gonna be like off canvas. I was gonna say camera, but canvas. You want the leaf to go off the camera because it's big and bold. And it's gonna go off camera and you're gonna act as if it finished at a different dimension. And that is your base shape of your here mango. And then we get started with the painting. When it comes to like blending paintings, what you want to do is most definitely start with the lightest color first. Once again, I did weird things with my paint and I have to give me a second. I'm sorry. My paint bled into another color that was on the canvas, not canvas, my paint thing. I should start using the tubes that we supply. It'll help keep my paint separated because they bleed to each other. So you're gonna want to dab a little bit of the yellow one. You don't want to take all the yellow because you're gonna need it for blending purposes later. And you want to paint the whole mango yellow because it is going to be the base color. You always need a base color and you always want to go with the lighter color because once you start blending, it is much easier to blend over a lighter color than it is a dark. So if we started with the
Ariana,
red.
can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yeah.
Someone is wanting to see the finished mango painting for a bit, probably just for reference. Would you mind setting it on the table?
Yeah. I could put it.
Or wherever.
I'm trying to find a place where I won't bump into it.
Right, right. Thank you.
Is this good?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
As long as it's not in your way.
Oh no, I think I shouldn't bump into it. If it goes toppling down, we'll know. And so you're gonna paint the whole thing yellow. All the way around with the big brush. And then you got a very bright yellow mango that kind of looks like a banana now. Dip into that. Sorry, that's just a whole lot of arm. I'm looking at the painting on the screen. Just can't see it from here. Next, we're going to go into the burnt orange you have. It looks kind of red, but it's orange. Do you know what I mean? If you don't know what I mean, I'm trying to describe it the best way. It reminds me of burnt sienna. If you're familiar with Crayola crayon colors, it is that color, or a nice terracotta. Oh, you're gonna wanna go in with a medium brush on this one. So you dip into there, and you're gonna start painting the left half. I was about to call it a kidney. It's not a kidney, of the mango. You're gonna paint that in. It should blend in, blend a little bit with the yellow and become a little bit more orange. That's exactly what we want. That is our life goal. Just light round and down, like you have a pea. Blend that out. The blending is going to look very rough until the very end product because you have to keep going back with different colors to make sure it's blended in. So right now we are doing base colors to get the colors that we need, and then we go back in. And you're gonna go all the way down and stop right by the tip, because the tip section, this triangle right here, that, oh, I'm trying to do it inverted, is gonna be green. This section is green. And this section right here is orange and red. And then this is yellow. So we gotta make sure to keep that separated for right now. So you're gonna dip back in, clean that off, dab, dab, dab. You're gonna go in, not with bright red, but the slightly darker red. It's like kind of maroon, blood red. It's not the bright watermelon red, but the darker one. I'm not sure if you can see the difference on camera, but on camera it kind of looks fuchsia. Don't know why, it's not fuchsia, but that is the color that we're gonna go with. Because when you blend it in, when you add it to the burnt sienna color, it makes that perfect shade of that deep mango color that I see in stores. You're gonna pick up the color a little bit, but that's okay, because once I said, we are blending. You're gonna wanna go around, don't go too heavy in this area, because that's the green. You're tapping into the green a bit. You're gonna tap, 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 and dab, dab, dab this red on. You're not gonna go too hard on the red. Tap and dab the red. Add a little bit more red if there's too much white showing up. That happens when working with wet paint. It's okay. You're gonna wanna go a little bit outside the line. And for this part, I like to do a nice semicircle, not semicircle, small circle swirl. And then light strokes. Swirl it and stroke. And that's where it wants to stop. It's gonna be a harsh line. It's gonna look really weird, but that is to be blended out later. Like I said, surface level colors right now. That's great. Okay, we are going in for green, dark green. I don't think we're going to be using bright green for this one. I'm very sorry if you're a bright green fan. This is a dark green mango. Tapping off some excess water. And so you're going to slather that good old dark green on. She's going to come up here, and there should be a V. You see how there's a V right there in this section. Trying to look at it inverted. That's what you want, and that's where you want to keep it. That is the end of the green. You don't want to go outside that area with the green. The green is the most tricky when it comes to laying down the color, because the color next to it is yellow. And once the green gets in your way, it's not leaving. So you want to make sure that you keep the green exactly where you want it. And you also want to add this green up into a little bit of the red and orange section right here. You want to do some nice flat lines. And get that green in there. This looks like really weird right now. But we're going to blend it together in one moment. We are just getting the colors where they need to be, like little strokes. Don't worry about the leaf right now or the stem. The leaf and stem is going to come in later. We're just going to focus on the mango right now. Sorry, I have to like look at it. Okay. So now that we have the base colors down, what we're going to do, dip in. I'm going with my other hand, so I'm not, you just don't see my sleeve. Dry it off. And then you're going to go back in with that yellow. I want that beautiful yellow to come in. Take the yellow, slab a large chunk of that yellow over this section. And you should get some of that burnt sienna coming up a little bit. And that's exactly what we want, because we want that color to blend in over here. We want the colors to share. So once you start painting over another section, you will get that color on your brush. We're all about sharing in this. And you want to start blending that out. And the bright side, because this paint is so wet, so once you go into one section, it'll add into the other. And it'll make your life so much easier. And you're gonna wanna go down here. It might take up too much red, but we're gonna go into the red anyway. We want that up. Take that out, dab it off. Go back into that yellow. Make sure there is no moisture. We don't want her there. And you're gonna go into the yellow again. Bring her this way. Sorry, I keep calling the paints her. I'm going into my natural vernacular. This is the first level of blending. It's going to look majorly patchy, but we're just trying to get colors coming in together. As far as the word where it gets tricky, you want to go into the darker red again. Come up, blend her out, put her in the green. The big brush is the one that we're going to use for the main blending. This is just getting the good surface level blends. So we know where stuff is going to go. It's going to look super muddy and weird, but I promise you it's going to come out looking great. And then you're going to go back into the green. Don't even wet the brush again. Just dry, like scrape off, as you see, right? You can't see it in the camera. I thought you could see it. But there we go. I scraped off the red in this section right here. You just need to like go back and forth with the brush like this to get it off, because you want to keep it at that same dry level. And you want to go back in with the green to make it a bit thicker. That is important because it's green. She's working on her own. The green does not have any help like the red and the orange. The only thing that goes in green is green. Around the edges. And right here, you're going to want to make little rounded peaks, like you want to make hills. So right here, you're going to want to go down, up and down, like little tiny hills, little swirly hills, up and down, just like that. Instead of having the sharp lines that we have been having, you want to have little hills right there. And we're done with that brush for now. Now we're on to our next blending journey. And that is with the big guy. The big guy is the perfect blending brush. It's nice and flat. It'll get with you where you need to be. So what you're going to do is go in with that yellow once again. And you're going to take it and you're just going to blend that all out. And it is already doing the thing I exactly wanted it to do. It makes life so much easier. As you see, exactly what I meant with the colors blending out naturally when you use this bigger brush. It doesn't look as choppy. So that's exactly what we want. We want that nice smooth blending. You want to go back in with the yellow if you touch a little bit too much in the red. You don't want to go in the red right away, because as soon as you go red, it's not going back. It just refuses to go back to yellow. And you're going to go into the orange / burnt sienna area. There's a dab of that orange, a little bit of orange to brighten her up. Just dab it and down. It's my favorite type of blending brush. I have one in my own set, but as you see, it's very worn. There's no more plastic on it. I really need new brushes. And then you're gonna blend that over, brush that off. Don't wet it. Just don't wet it during this whole process. That is a key. Go into the burnt sienna. And then you're gonna blend up again, starting in this middle section. Maybe go on the side. And then you blend on down. You could go into the green. Other colors can touch the green. The green cannot touch other colors because, like I said, she's unforgiving. Green will just ruin everything if you bring it into a different section that it's not supposed to be. But it's okay if your orange goes into the green. That's a-okay. So next, you're going to want to go back into that nice deep maroon. I put way too much on my brush. I have this very little bit. And you're going to want to go right here. This one's also a color you want to be careful of. You don't want too much of this because it's not a very important color, but it really adds that depth that we need. And you're going to want to blend that out. Just tap and dab, and that is the method for this here maroon. Tap and dab. And if you have too much of it, you can always blend it back out. Get a little bit into the green with the maroon. And for that, what you're going to want to do, dab most of it off. So you just have kind of a stain. And then you take it and you just chop it like you are chopping some lettuce. And you just chop that in. Take the very tip of the brush, but you don't want to go so hard that you flatten the brush. It'll spot out the color and make it into a nice blend that we were looking for. And then lightly drag it, not too much, because then it's going to make it come up, and then you're going to get white colors. And we don't want the white coming in, because then you have to repaint the other stuff. Going back into burnt sienna, dab off a little bit. You see? A little bit's on there. And then you're going to do that good old tap and dab again to the maroon. I told you guys, this one's like blending city. It's a lot of blending. Mango's actually my favorite fruit to eat. It's so delicious. I know I was a poser with the watermelon, but I genuinely do eat mangoes. Gonna brush that off, and then you're gonna go back in with the green right here, since it's kind of covered. And you're going to do the same method. Get that nice tap and dab. Up and around. Don't go too far in there. Just lightly go into it. This one doesn't have to be a perfect blend because unlike the yellows, oranges, and reds, those could smoothly blend in with each other. But there's like a whole missing link in between red and green that we don't have. So that is not going to blend in perfectly. That one is supposed to stand out. So don't worry about that. You have the green coming in, and we're going to go back with our favorite yellow. We miss it. And we're going to go down and deepen that V a little bit. And from having the green, you should have a bit of a green color in there, which is going to help a little bit with that blend. You don't want to expand the green all the way up. You don't want to expand that yellowish green color all the way up. You definitely don't want to do that because that's just going to kind of kill the whole vibe. It's going to make it look weird and molded, and that's not what we want. So you're going to clean off the brush once you get this V section a little bit green, and you're going to make sure the brush is relatively dry. Go back in with the yellow, get a good amount on there, and then paint over it again. That nice blend. Nice circles like we did last time, and then dab. And then go over here, blend that in one more time. The yellow is the color that usually gets covered up the most because it's so light. I'm just gonna drag it a little bit. Have the colors meet each other and come up into the yellow, because for the most part it's usually like fruits aren't perfectly half and half unless it's some kind of anomaly. And there you should have your lovely blended mango. Look at it, just lovely. And then from there on, it is very easy because you do not have to blend anymore. Thank God. You just have to paint in the stem and the leaf and the background, which is very simple to do. For the stem, you want to go teeny tiny skinny brush, dab that off, go into the burnt sienna, and then you paint the stem. This one you don't have any depth to or anything. You don't have to add any darker colors. You don't have to add the black. That one could stay as is. You're going to want to go into the mango just a little bit so it looks like it's growing out of it, like a little hat. And then smooth it out around the edge. So your mango's going to look like it's wearing a hat. It's very nice, very chic. And then you're going to clean that off because we don't need it anymore for right now. And then, no, you could keep this brush. Go into the dark green and then you paint your leaf. Just fill in your leaf. And you want to make sure your leaf is lighter than the color that you originally put down. So you want to keep blending it out so it spreads out the color more. So it looks like that. I know this looks really weird. It's okay. That could easily be fixed with a little bit more yellow, our favorite. And what you're going to do then, you're going to take the green once again, but you want to get a good glob of it like I have right here. And that's where you're going to add just a little bit more depth. You don't want it to spread out. You want to keep this one dark. You want to add a line like the vein of a leaf, and then add those little vein lines along the leaf on both sides. You do that by just going up and down with it. Instead of just going one angle, you want to go up and down. And then you have the vein of the leaf right here. And so I'm just going to clean up my mango. You may not have this problem. You may have not gone so heavy with the hat, but I went very heavy with the hat. I got excited. So I am going to go in, and if you had this problem too, all you have to do is just add a little bit of yellow to it. It's no big deal. You just add a little yellow and it's fixed. And then you have the hat be a little smaller. Super simple fix. Now, I know I told you we were done with blending, but I lied. I'm sorry. I forgot. The background color is actually a blended color. So we're going back with our big favorite brush. If you have a lid, I recommend you blend this out you mix it on the lid first. If you do not have the lid, it is okay. You don't have to. So you take the burnt sienna color and slather that on. We're gonna do an accent color around the edge, by the way, so prepare for that. Take the burnt sienna color and you put that in just this one section right here. Do not go past doing just this part. And you'll have like this lighty, kind of like a taupey creamish color. And you're gonna take that and you put that in. And you're gonna blend that out. You don't want to have too much of the taupey color. You want to have some more of that orange so it can make it a little bit more peachy. You're going to go around the mango. And like I said before, you want to have the same kind of brush stroke. For this one, I want to go for a nice horizontal type brush stroke after I get the initial blend, because it looks better for this particular one. For the other one, it was better to have a diagonal for the watermelon, but for the mango, this looks best with a good horizontal. You don't have to pick it up yet. I know for the last one I picked it up, that's because we were doing purple all the way around, but for this one, since we're not doing this taupey orange all the way around, you do not have to do that. And notice how I did not dip back in the paint yet. That is because you should have a good glob from the top. It'll just spread down. I've ran out for this one, but we are going to go back in, get that orange in there, get that taupe in there, and then back to orange. And we got our color back. And also, it's very nice to have a background color that is deep enough that you are able to hide any imperfections you may have made when you were painting. Like if you went outside the line a little bit, once you do your background color, it could cover it up for you. That is a must for me. I always have to have the background color a slightly darker color, because it just makes my life so much easier and better. I rarely have anything that is a white background, because that is just a recipe for mistakes. And I mentioned this to you before about how we would use a smaller brush. For this detail right here, this is way too skinny to use that bigger brush without making a mistake. So what you're gonna do is dip into your taupey color. You should only have a little bit left. Not your taupe, your burnt sienna. Go in around the leaf, and you can also use this for the details right here so you don't have white, to go like around the mango. And then dip into the taupey color, just a small dot, the smallest dot, and just paint inside that corner. Here we go. Here we are. Now, because of that section, we had to use a different brush. What you're gonna do is you're just gonna dab that off. Make sure it's a little damp, and you're gonna go back and forth with that horizontal feel. Dampen your brush a little. I didn't have enough damp. Go into the burnt sienna. Go over the whole thing. In this section, you want to be so careful. Smallest strokes. smallest. Even just start dotting in the inside. And if you start to pick up some white, that is okay, because it is a wet brush. With the wet brush, you're going to pick up some white. So you don't want to go too heavy or go over the same section multiple times. And you're going to just make sure you get a good horizontal look. This is just for blending purposes. This isn't to make the color. This is just for blending. And if you do find that you are picking up too much white, what you can do, either A, wait for it to dry, or you can be impatient. This is a trick I found. And you take a bit of your paper towel, like that, ball her up. And the reason why it's picking up so much white is that it's too moist over there. So you just take it and you dab that moisture. We got some more jazz. And you dab the moisture off, like I did here. So then you have that section. And then you go back over it with a less moist brush, because that happens sometimes. And either you could wait for it to dry, or you just take matters into your own hands. I like to take matters into my own hands. And then you just go over it again. Pick up all that paint. Oh, I'm sorry, my paintbrush. My brushes are in the way. I'm so sorry. Again with the taupe. And also feel free, if you may want a different background color than what I have chosen, that is the one you could do with the most liberty, because that was just what I thought looked good. But if you have a different vision, you are more than welcome to use a different background color of any paint that you may have. And what I'm going to do is go over with the taupe again, over the whole thing. And we're going to do this back and forth motion at the top to really get that blended out.
Get all the ingredients going. Okay. You want fresh cream?
Because we want it to be a little lighter. The important part of the mango painting here, because unlike with watermelon, the watermelon is like a starkly different color. You have purple with green and red, but here you have like this taupey brown, because I want to go for a more earthy feel with an already like earth colored fruit. So with this, you want to make sure you have as much contrast as you can so you could differentiate between the two. And then lastly, oh no, I got a little bit in to my mango. If that happens, like I just did with the green at the very least, easiest thing to fix, because the green, it's on its own. So you just take the green and you paint around the edge again, and the green is fixed. The last bit, you don't have to do this last bit. If you like it looking like this, how it looks more like an earthy kind of feel, you do not have to add these little sparkles that I had on this one. I just, okay, there were these little sparkles. I just, when I was painting this at home, I felt it in my heart to add these sparkles. You do not have to do that. For this one, it looks way more earthy, and honestly, I like this one better without sparkles. I think it just looks better without the sparkles. You don't have to, you can add them if you like. All you do is you do the same type of dotting that you did with the watermelon painting, but you do it with the yellow. And like I said, for the outside, we're going to do an accent. And the accent we're going to be using is that deep red. And so you're going to take your paintbrush. Oh, now the paintbrush is out of frame. There we go. You're going to take your paintbrush, the big flat one, dry it off. dip into the nice maroon red and then along the edges. Now, when you're doing an accent color, you want to make sure you only stay on the edges. For the other one, you could be a little bit more free, but you want to stay on the edge of this. You do not want to go into the main canvas because this is just like an accent around the edges. So you have to be a little bit more careful. You can't be as carefree as you were with the watermelon painting. It's just the aesthetic we're going for this here mango. Go in. Oh, and you're going to be holding it the same way you were holding it the last time. I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention that. That's how you shall be holding it. And I like to go upside down when doing it. I know I was twirling it around before, but it was just like really weird. It's because like this position, it feels very naturally to me. I know for some people that may be weird to just like fling your wrist backwards and start painting. So if you do want to do the twirl like I was doing last time, you are welcome to do that. But I like this better, so I do not have to pick up the canvas at all. I'm gonna go around the edges. I don't know about you guys, but I have paint all over my hands. It's a lovely time. And then, oh, I gotta reposition it. Okay. And then you have your lovely mango with the accent on the sides, which I think are always fun to have the little accents on the side. So you have your mango. The watermelon should be dry, so you can actually like pick that up and handle that one. Have your lovely fun watermelon with some sparkles and your earth tone mango. Yeah. Once everyone's done, I'm excited to see if you guys want to show some of your, like, how your paintings turned out. If you want to see them both here, just in case you need a reference. There they are. Ow. Let's knock my headphones out. And we are going to be continuing with the Tiny Painting Corner for our next cycle of programming for the fall/winter, where it goes from September through December. We're going to have 3 Tiny Painting Corners, but they are going to be different. They are not going to be on Zoom. We're going to have them be pre-recorded, and they will be going out a certain day. And we're going to have 24 kits available, and it'll be first come, first serve. And for those, we are going to be painting the planets. I picked out 3 planets that we're going to be painting. We're going to be painting Saturn, Neptune, and Mars.
Those look so nice, Arianna. That was fun to watch.
Thank you.
There's no questions in the chat, and I don't know if anyone wants to share their finished painting, but you're welcome to.
Oh, I see some of them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I'm able to see the chats fully. Oh, they look so cute. I love them. You guys did such a good job blending. The watermelons look so nice. Yes, I love. They're amazing. Always love seeing the little creations afterwards. Ah, very nice. I love it. I love it so much. I'm so happy with the mango blending. I know it was a journey. Thank God. Thank you guys so much for coming out
Thank you.
and being part of the Tiny Painting Corner. Glad you guys like the smooth jazz. And don't be afraid to come on back. And also Mary Lynn, our host, she has her own crafting that she is going to be doing for next cycle as well. Her mic is off, but Mary Lynn, if you want to talk about your crafting that you're going to be doing so they could like know about it. Mic is still off. Maybe she doesn't want to talk about it. It's okay. It'll be the newsletter, but we will have those. We're going to have, she has her crafting circle and I have the tiny painting corner. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit different. First come, first serve. You do not have to register for that. You just pick up a kit and the video will be going out on a certain day. But thank you everyone for coming out. And thank you for coming to the program. I hope you guys have a lovely Saturday. Bye, everyone.